always very well. And I think I was thinking about this a bit. I think the reason is because what we see is what's been edited by the publishers, by you guys. So typically what we're seeing in the United States is just like the best of everything you've got to offer. If it's published, you know, in some magazine, we're going to be seeing it. And these days with the internet, again, what we're seeing is the best of everything Italy has to offer. So perception, Italian design is always very well received, admired, I'd say. Well, I think the first thing that catches our eye is the style. You know, the cleanliness of the detail, the proportions. So a lot of it is the style, the color that might be used. But immediately you look at the craftsmanship. How is something really put together? Because it can look great, but if the joints aren't right, if the details aren't worked out, if the hinges are sloppy, suddenly the whole thing will fall apart conceptually, visually, and probably physically. And then obviously production, because it has to be built well. But I think it's sort of in that sequence. We first of all see something we really like and are drawn to, and then you see how it's put together, how things meet, and if it's still good there, then we'll start looking at the production of it. You know, as an architect, the first one I think of is Renzo Piano, because he's all over the United States, right? Every museum that's being done is a Renzo museum. We have one in Chicago. Beautiful details, beautiful light, you know, beautiful space. But there are all these other designers from Italy that we reference. So we think of Gaolenti, we think of Gio Ponti, or these people who were in different design fields who still influence how we might conceptualize architecture. Because if you see like a Gio Ponti chair and just start looking at how it's shaped and then how it's put together, you start to think of how can you do that in a building, right? So Renzo is just the building, but these other designers in other fields influence, I think, how we start to think of our space. Actually, the first job I had out of school was with an Italian architect, Romaldo Gergola in Philadelphia. Wonderful, wonderful man. Beautiful work. And what struck me about the work was that everything was considered. There was nothing just accepted. If you were going to do a bookcase, you didn't just do a bookcase. You thought of a different way you might be able to support it. You started to think more of the detail. So it was so thoughtful and thorough. It really influenced me there. The part of Italy well, Europe in general, products are typically really considered or purchased for a long-term, on a long-term basis, you know. Whereas in the US, I think we have a little bit more of a disposable mentality. And so a lot of times we're faced with situations where the project will be a little bit downgraded because they know that in 10 years they're going to change it. They know that in 5 years, nope, it'll be something else. And that can be a problem. Whereas in Italy, and I think you can see it in houses. Here, for some reason, the buildings even get built in a sort of a sturdier manner. In the US, if we're doing a tall building, a super tall tower, or a 50 or 60 story tower, there you obviously have to have a durability built into the building, into the systems. But in the smaller buildings, a lot of times we have to be very cautious of how far we can drop the care that we're putting into a project. And it isn't just us. I think it's the market. The market a lot of times wants something cheaper. I think America has learned from Italy. The designers, the people who have some sort of sensitivity to design, this is what we look for. And that's where I think the taste can meet. There is a whole other level where if people are just looking at their own culture, they don't quite develop the same way.